Hey there, Scalds and Berserkers.
In this week's Flashlight, we visit Oppegaard Meadery to hear about who's playing D&D at their game night.
Thanks to Oppegaard Meadery for letting us wander around interviewing people for a couple hours.
If you're in Seattle, go try their excellent mead.
Absolutely. Let's roll initiative. We're at Oppegaard Meadery in Tequila, talking to people at D&D night, and we're here with the owner, John. Thank you so much for having us at your meadery.
Oh yeah, of course. I'm glad you guys came out. I know that the D&D game that is currently going on right now is going to be stoked to tell you all about it. I'm sure I've been hearing them laugh and cheer from the back like all day.
And they play here every week, eh?
Every Saturday, yeah, they usually set up. There's anywhere between 1 and 3 games going every Saturday.
That is very cool, and this is an incredibly cozy space, I will say.
Yeah, that was exactly the goal. You know, the mead halls of old weren't exactly like, you know, the lively club atmosphere. They were the community hangout spot where you'd come, have a drink, gossip, talk a little crap, and play some games.
I mean, that's honestly how this has turned out. So kudos on that. Yeah.
Thanks.
And thank you so much for giving us a chance to talk to people about their games.
Yeah, of course, definitely. I'm glad you guys came out.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, totally.
You guys want to talk about the D&D characters?
Yeah, we'd also love to.
Yeah, sure. All right.
So do you want to introduce yourself and tell us about your character?
Yeah, my name's Justin, and I play a half-orc named Zugzug the Mug Slayer.
Absolutely.
He's a little bit of a cockroach.
Okay.
You know, he's chaotic neutral. He's a bard, and really is there to kind of scheme and scam people. So very perceptive, knows his way out of situations, can see traps coming, likes to slow people down or speed himself up to get out of bad situations and kind of make fun of everybody.
Can you give us an example of what kind of scheming and scamming he does?
Well, so in the original campaign that we were playing, he was thrown in jail for going into a tavern and basically scamming somebody out of a lot of money, but they caught on to his scam.
Oh, shit,
So
okay.
it was essentially tricking him that he had this bag of goods that were not up to snuff and was thrown into prison. And so he had to try to escape his way out of prison. But previous to that, like cheating at dice games or cheating at cards, you know, just kind of being a little bit of a shyster.
Does he have like an arc where he's just going to get better and better at scamming, or?
That's the goal with the character. You know, all of the dungeons that we go in, he's a little bit of a loot goblin, and we'll go around searching all the different areas, trying to find as much goods that he can shove inside of his pack to take away with.
And how does he interact with the rest of the table?
I mean, pretty well.
Okay.
Except for, you know, there are situations where team might want to go one way, but he has a little sneaky suspicion that he might find something over this way. So
He's got his priorities, yeah.
He'll go off on his own, or we had it was a little bit of like Takashi's Castle type situation where all the players were competing against each other inside of a wipeout type event.
Hell yeah.
And so, you know, he's casting slow on everybody else to try to get a little bit of advantage, or
But that's meant to be
yeah,
PvP.
exactly. Haste on himself to jump into a cannon and throw some bags out faster than everybody else.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, just to throw everybody off. There was no team sport whatsoever. But he's not a bad dude, and he'll help everybody else out because, you know, he's neutral. He looks out for himself.
Sure. This sounds like an incredibly fun character.
Oh yeah.
Thank you
It's
so
fun
much
to
for
play.
telling us about
Yeah, you're
Zugzug.
welcome.
Warcraft II references.
Warcraft II.
If you click on the peasants
Over and over again.
this is Zugzug.
Zugzug. I played Warcraft 3 a lot back in the day.
I played Warcraft II at my cousin's place, and that was my only Warcraft experience. Back in my day!
It's funny, I hear myself over like right here, you're to the left.
Sorry? Oh, the stereo's actually working.
Yeah.
That makes sense, yeah. Do you have a character you'd like to tell us about on the show?
Sure.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
So my character is Calypso, and she is a tiefling, but I decided to do 2 classes. So she's a sorcerer barbarian, kind of.
How does that combination work?
You know, she's small. She may look small, but she can pack a punch. That's how I kind of explain it. How I kind of explained it was like her mom was the barbarian and her dad was the sorcerer, so
Got
that's
it.
how it kind of worked out. And they were in a traveling circus, so she's an entertainer as well. It's kind of a very weird mix, but it works out. So me and Zug Zug, who you guys were talking to before, we're both into instruments. So we actually, he plays the drums and I'll play the flute.
So you got a band?
Usually, yeah, so we got a band, and I can also play the lyre, and I believe I can play the lute too. So we have a full band. We're able to just shoot the
Incredible.
tunes. Yeah.
Do you actually in game like do performances?
Yes, we did. And he failed at the drums the last time we did it, but I came in clutch with my flute, so we ended up saving the day. We didn't fail. It was
The most
great.
like D&D version of a band.
Yeah.
Oh, as long as one performer's good, it works.
Exactly, like he did his performance and he just kept getting like 2 and 3, and then I'd come in and get the high numbers, and we were like, okay, we can move on, we're good. Came in and saved the day. Yeah.
Very cool. And what's, I guess, Calypso's long run arc?
What does that mean?
Where do you think this character's going to end up after playing for a long time?
Ooh, that's a good question. I hope that she... We'll see. It's unknown right now. She's very new. She's very, like, she's on... This is the first time that she's been on her own since she's been with her parents. So, like,
wow.
Yeah, and she's been going through a lot with the campaigns that we've been doing. So I think that she's just trying to find maybe her strength and figure out what it is that she wants to do after she gets out of the Underdark.
Oh, you're all in the
We're
Underdark
all
right now.
in the Underdark right now, so I don't know when she'll be able to see sunlight again.
Oh no. Well, I guess we got to come back here and find out
Definitely.
what happened a year from now.
Yeah, we'll let you know.
Thank you so much for letting us know about
thank
Calypso.
you. Thank you.
For sure. Sorcerer Barbarian is a wild healthy class.
Yeah, I don't know what I was doing.
It's fun. It's fun to try,
my,
right?
Yeah, it's my first character, so.
Oh wow!
It's my first character
Congratulations.
that I've built, so I was like, I'm just gonna go crazy.
Yeah.
I went crazy and I was like, we're just gonna see where this leads us.
Cool.
Yeah. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so
Have a great
much.
night.
You as well. Thank you.
And then,
Awesome.
Sounds like Calypso.
Sorry?
Just great characters.
Oh yeah. Do you want more mead, by the way? I'm giving myself one more.
Yeah, I'll do another
Cool. Do you want the same thing? Do you want to try the? I had the blueberry. It was real good. Do you want to try the hop one?
Yeah, we'll try the hop one.
Cool.
The hop one.
you want a glass?
Can I get the blueberry mead smoked and I guess the hop one as well?
Totally.
Thanks so much.
You do not want the hot one smoked, I promise.
That's fine.
All right.
Where it's so much of game mastering is about understanding your party, your crowd. If you've got a bunch of younger people, you have to not do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You have to like really kind of simplify things. Maybe you start using things that they would understand, which kind of creates also a little bit of divide between maybe older game masters and younger players. Because are you bringing them to your style of gaming, or are you trying to come down to their?
I mean, I guess if you're playing at Gen Con or at kind of Adventures League games or whatever,
Yeah.
I completely agree. I've only ever played with people that I've known for like years and years.
Right.
And so the current players, I've known them all for at least 5 or 6 years. And so when I'm putting together the game, it's like I'm putting together something that I know that these individual people will have a lot of fun with.
So I found that I think most role-playing games are absolutely set up for that.
Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah.
I mean, almost all of them.
Yeah.
Now, what I find really fun is, and I'm not afraid of this, I love going to conventions, setting up a game that I have created, and I don't ever use modules.
Of course.
And so what I put together with no understanding of who's going to show up at my table.
Yeah.
I have no clue. I don't know what they know. I don't know what they like. I have no clue. All it is, and I kind of look at it like as almost like a, it's a difference between inviting your friends over for a meal and owning a restaurant.
Sure.
So I'm going to make the most awesome steak because I know how to make a great steak. But if I'm also making a big giant vegan turkey meal for my friends,
Yes.
that's different.
Right.
So that's kind of the thing is I find it more exciting and fun to host games for people I don't know.
Interesting.
And it's also fun at like conventions like OrcaCon because it has even so in Gen Con I saw a lot of what I expected, which is the grognard population.
Yes.
Okay. But I was happy to see a much more diverse population there. So I saw people of all colors and cultures and all that stuff there. So
Which is not how Gen Con always was, I think.
No, because I don't think the game industry was that way.
Yeah.
It was mostly white college guys.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And then it just exploded, and now it's everybody,
Yeah.
and that's amazing. And it was interesting because I literally played. I had purchased a system called Fate of the Norns there, and the guys were like, "Hey, we're running sort of open play games at this one place. Go over there and check it out." So I go over there and see how the game works. And then as I leave out of there, I end up talking to a gentleman who's told me that for the last 2 years he's been working on a Hindu version
A Fate of the North.
of Fate of the Norns, which is a Norwegian
Sure,
folklore
yeah.
version. So he's trying to figure out how to compile 8,000 years worth of history, faith, and religion
Right.
into a role-playing game, which is essentially sampling, what, maybe 500 years of Scandinavian history?
Right.
You know? So I'm like, good luck with that. That sounds exciting. It sounds exciting. You're going to try to figure that one out. But, you know, him as somebody probably, you know, I'm just assuming I didn't verify that he was a Indian person. But, like, it appeared that this was something he was looking at his own culture and being like, I want to do a version of this.
That's
And
very
it seems
cool.
like a cool system. And I even asked him, I'm like, how are you going to get around the rune thing? And he's like, Sanskrit? I was like, okay, that works.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, sure. We're going to be putting words together. Gotcha. You know?
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. And so it's more about like kind of like a weird, crazy fantasy RPG version of like Scrabble, I guess. You know what I mean? Where he's like, I got enough to make this one word of power.
What was your experience like with Fate of the Norns?
So that one's interesting because he's trying to do a mechanic that, and I can't really get too hard into the mechanics. I am definitely not a pro at it, but it's an interesting concept because I think if you played Street Fighter,
Yeah.
or you were a card player,
Yes.
so Pokemon or some of the other ones I'm trying to think of, Magic the Gathering and things like that.
Yeah.
It's kind of a little bit about combos. It's a little bit about randomness of pulling something.
Yes.
And being able to like go, okay, here's my stratagem between these three things that I pulled together.
Yeah, coming up with that on the fly.
Right. Whereas a typical D&D game is, oh, I'm a druid. I can cast this spell
Yes.
until I run out of slots. In this game, it's more like I hope I pull that spell from my bag.
Got it.
So,
And when you were playing, what kind of, I guess, was your character someone that was using a lot of magic, or?
so it doesn't matter. Everything in the game is runes.
Oh, so everything has that randomness.
You want to walk, it's a rune. You want to talk, it's a rune.
Oh, no.
Everything is rune based. There is out of combat, in combat. Out of combat, each one of your abilities has like it has a combat power and it has out of combat power. So like for instance, I was playing I think it's called an Ulfandar, which is like a wolf berserker.
What was your character's name?
I think I named it the most standard thing ever, which was like basically bald wolf, which is was it Scala Wolf. And so because of that character, one of the powers I had was the ability to turn into a wolf.
Okay.
So you can, out of combat with not the rune, you can just turn into a wolf. That's not an issue.
Awesome.
Just zip, zip, zip. You're just morphing all day long.
As one does.
Yeah. And in the game, in combat, you have to pull a specific rune based to that power. Otherwise, you're just fighting each other with axes until that happens.
Got it.
Then once you pull that rune, you can turn into that. But the cool component about the game is you can also use other runes to amplify the power.
Got it.
So some powers that allows you to hit harder or to hit something differently or to basically kind of bend the power to something else.
And do you strategically build the set of runes that will be in your bag?
So you essentially get how many runes do you have in your bag?
Okay.
And how many you get to pull.
Okay.
So that's the balance. You want a big old bag full of runes that you have a bunch of things to tap to, but you also take a greater chance of not drawing the one you want.
Got it.
So this is where I think the Magic the Gathering comparison kind of works.
Yes.
You can have a giant ass stack, or you can have a small stack of things you know is going to come out.
That sounds like an incredibly cool system. We will link to it in the show notes for sure.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, it's a very cool game. It's once you get the gist of it, it's a lot easier to kind of move through it. But if you're a big kind of hardcore player, you're used to sort of D&D style.
Right.
It takes a minute to shift rolling a die versus being able to go, oh, whatever I want to do actually happens. It's just how much of it is happening at once.
Right. Right.
So I think the concept is to consistently create the sort of epic,
Yes.
and it stays epic. It doesn't. There is no. Oh, I fumbled this.
At all times, you were being like kind of maximally
You're
epic. Yes.
Absolutely epic. So it is kind of the.
That's a Norse saga kind of feel.
Yeah, yeah. Everybody in the saga is kind of it constantly cuts the limbs off and
Right.
kills the bad guy.
It's like hard-boiled kind of.
Yeah. There is no sort of failure in the whole thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? It is a guy bragging about his life. Absolutely.
Literally, yeah. That is such a cool. That is
Right.
such a cool system. I'm
Right.
glad you got to play in that.
Yeah. Definitely.
Thank you so much for coming on Campaign Spotlight.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks.
Podcast.
All right.
My throat's a little off, and
I mean, you've been DMing for 4 hours straight at this point, eh?
you know what? Back in the day, we used to do sessions that would go 6-8 hours, crazy stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you take like multiple breaks or
Yeah,
just
get up
nonstop?
and stretch.
Okay.
And, yeah.
Because you've been DMing this game here for a while.
Well, like a month maybe.
Oh, it's brand
I
new.
just moved here. I moved here in end of June. I'm
Welcome
from
to
Arizona, so
That's a big change, eh?
it's a good change. Yeah, Arizona's not fun.
Well, congratulations then.
Happy to be here.
How's this campaign been going so far?
This is the second session with some of the first people from the first session. I know it's a lot of fun. Part of it for me is just getting comfortable with people that I don't know. But I feel like in this session we really hit our stride. We had a lot of fun, a lot of creative playing, and it was good. It was everything you want from a D&D game. And we finished it up in the 4-hour period we had. We're good, yeah.
Oh, you finished the whole story in
With that one
period.
module, yeah.
Oh, perfect.
So, yeah, I mean, there's going to be, so the module started with the cleansing of a graveyard crypt. The crypt went further into the Underdark. They confronted a cursed, ruined Dwergar, which are deep dwarves, you're a gamer, Dwergar stronghold. And they cleansed it. They defeated the priest who was cursed and bound that location, but in doing so, the priest shattered his idol, which means that the passageway that he used to gain entrance to the Underdark has now fallen in on itself.
Oh,
and
so
is
they're
closed by-
trapped.
So they're trapped in the Underdark now.
So
that's
they'll
what,
be there a while.
unless they find a good way out, yeah. Yeah.
We're gonna have to come back here and see
By
how
all
they get
means.
out.
Yeah, by all means.
Thank you so much. It's
Pleasure,
so fun
yeah.
about this game.
Pleasure. And John creating this environment and having everybody here is fantastic.
This is such a cool space.
It is. I've been sending pictures to my friends because I game with people back. I started playing in the 80s, and so I'm now sending them pictures and everything. And it's like, oh my God, this is the best D&D location ever, right?
Yeah, it's awesome.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. So what's your podcast?
So our podcast is called Campaign Spotlight. I can get you a card for it.
Yeah, by all
And
means.
it's just cool to hear about people's games.
Cool.
And we mostly interview DMs about their campaigns. But this is us trying to hear about kind of shorter games, more informal games, and also about people's characters.
It's a drop-in, drop-out format. So some of the same people you see, sometimes not. And that's kind of challenging for me because I was always used to running sessions where you have an ongoing narrative
Yes.
with the same group of people that some of my campaigns lasted years. So I'm finding myself having to adjust the way I game and finding a quick way to bring people into the know in terms of the story arc and have them participate in a meaningful way, because so much of the enjoyment of the game, I think, is the investment in the character, the investment in the campaign. And if you're just jumping in and playing, getting somebody to that point over a short period of time is really challenging. And I'm not sure I have a good answer to it at this point. So,
Do you feel like when people are just jumping in for a session at a time, do they take bigger risks? Because one thing I worry about, I run campaigns that last years, and I worry that their character is like their avatar, right?
Yeah.
And they're so risk averse.
Yeah.
Do you find that when people are showing up for the night, they're taking bigger swings, or?
I think the people that I've seen show up, usually you'll have at least 2 or 3 or 4 people that come in as a group.
Okay.
So there's a dynamic amongst them where they are going to play in a way that acknowledges the fact that maybe they were brand new to these characters, but they have an ongoing relationship amongst themselves.
Yes.
And usually that attitude carries the table. In tables where you get a bunch of randos, I think to some extent, I think you're right, but if the DM's managing risk appropriately, you can send the message pretty quickly. Okay, it's fun, take your risks, but it's not only going to be you that was the one that
the
falls.
party that's going to be in trouble.
And if they're a real gamer that enjoys the game and wants to contribute, usually that puts the kibosh on it, in my experience.
I guess, how do you, early on in a session, communicate that kind of stakes?
I never do it directly. In terms of advising people don't do this stuff. I try to create speed bumps, things along the way to demonstrate that 1, there's risk, 2, I'm not going to pull any punches, and 3, if you play stupid, you're going to die, and maybe your friends will die too.
Have you had any characters die in these games?
Yes, but not permanently. So it was a revivify on the spot, and the person kept on trucking.
But that does kind of give them a sense that those stakes exist.
Yeah.
And do you start them out at a low level so that everyone's kind of entering without a lot of capacity, or is everyone starting?
I prefer lower level games. But the other guy that runs Donovan, who I think he might be gone.
We spoke with Donovan for sure.
Yeah. So he had a 6th level campaign, and he makes these beautiful character sheets. He prints them out. There are multiple pages, like a small book. Real nice card stock. I think somebody might have them, but they like their characters so much in his campaign that they came over to my campaign. They're like, "Can I use this character?" Sure. And so I had to take my 3rd level campaign and go, "Okay, now it's 6." And you adjust everything and you just roll with it. So but it's been good. Been a lot of fun.
And everything stays at the same level. No, when people enter as new characters, they're already at the same level.
Yeah, I don't. To have a 6th level campaign and all of a sudden the guy's coming in, you're giving him a 1st level rogue. There's no fun in that.
Yeah, point well taken. Yeah.
I mean, if it was a broader campaign, I was playing with the same people over years, I might do that, right? But when somebody just wants to sit down, participate, and have a good time, they've got to be as potent as the rest of the people on the table.
Do you like to have, to that point, do you like to have an idea of here's where this character would end up? If they lived in this world for a long time, they're kind of on a journey, on an arc. Do you like to have any of that aspect to the game, or is it really they're here for this mission and that's their role right now?
I'm trying to create common threads across all the modules I run.
Cool.
So even though at first blush they may seem completely separate, there's always going to be something, an NPC, a plot line, or something that I can piece from game 1 to 2 to 3, and that people, if they come back in a month, they're still going to pick up on themes and maybe NPCs and issues that they saw the first time they sat down.
That's really exciting. Are there any NPCs that they've already taken a liking to?
Not so much. I mean, I've been kind of getting down and going to the nitty gritty of the campaign, but I think and Donovan does a really good job of integrating NPCs and good NPCs dialogue. I'm going in with plots and everything, and I need to dial it back and kind of ramp up the social element of the game. But when you're looking at a time frame between 2 and 6 p.m. ballpark,
yes,
I kind of feel like you got to get in there and get to work, So, yeah.
Thank you so much for letting us know about this campaign.
Give me a card.
Will do.
Yeah.
I'll give you a card and I'll also ask for your email address. So that That's all for this week.
I'm Production Master Riley.
And I'm Dungeon Inspector Jake.
If you enjoy the show, consider subscribing and leaving a review, which helps other people find Campaign Spotlight.
If you'd like to support our work, consider going to patreon.com/campaignspotlight and becoming a patron.
And if your players want a PvP scene, but you're worried it'll take up too much time, maybe just have them arm wrestle in real life instead.
For more on the show, including links to all our social media, visit foldedfrequencies.com/campaignspotlight.